Hey everybody, this is Mike with expandingsound.com. This is a little bit of a different video for me as I'm not really used to complaining too much about gear. There's only been one or two other videos I've ever made where I, talked about the downside of some things that I use. Most of the time I try to find the positive in all of the pieces of gear that I use, but this one has some glaring issues to me that I felt like were worth talking about for anyone who is potentially looking at buying one of these. I've had it for several months now. I've bought a lot of Zoom products over the years. I'm a fan of what they do. I bought this myself. I thought it would be the perfect unit to put in my DAWless setup and have just, leave it there basically and record. And if that's all you're going to do with it, just leave it somewhere in a DAWless setup and hit record and then transfer the files. If that's all you're going to do with it, then it's great. But if you want to do anything else, there are some serious issues with this thing, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. So before I get negative, I'll talk about the things that I like about it first, because I try to be positive pretty much with every piece of gear that I use, and I do use it. So from that point of view, am I getting my money's worth? I am using it, so that's positive. Besides that, I love how small it is. I love how easy it is to just take anywhere. It fits really well on a DAWless setup, where if you have a bunch of little synths and key step and sequencers and stuff like that, it doesn't take up really any real estate at all, and it's perfect for that use. And the mono buttons on the inputs 3 and 4 are really nice. I do like the effects. I think those are nice. I like the aux send capability. There's a lot of cool things with this unit. There's also a lot of problems, and the problems are what I'm here to talk about today. I'm actually recording this right now using my L6. That's how I'm doing the voiceover, so I'm also wasting 5 blank tracks at the same time, because you can't select one track and just record one track on this thing. That's an issue, but I'm going to talk about that later. I'm going to start with my biggest glaring issue here first. And my biggest glaring issue is that I have had nothing but problems using this thing as an interface with iOS. I bought it thinking it would be a perfect little interface for my iPad, and I have a brand new iPad, an M4, the iPad Pro, top of the line, their biggest one that they have right now. Does not work. I've been back and forth with Zoom's customer service, and, they tell me at first that, it's an issue with the newer iPads, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't work with my old iPad either, so that isn't true. When you plug it in to the computer, it says that it's a 2x2 interface instead of a 12 by whatever it's supposed to be. Even if it was 12 by 2, that's fine, but you don't have inputs that it says that you have. It doesn't work properly. Like I said, I've been back and forth with their customer service. They have told me that a update was coming. The update came out. It was supposed to fix that issue. I updated my unit. Same problems. It has not been fixed. I was told to turn off Siri. Siri was not on my iPad. I don't really have a use for it, so that wasn't going to fix any problem for me because I wasn't using it to begin with. Again, we were going back and forth, and the people at the customer service are fine. They're very friendly. It's not an issue with them. They're not blowing me off. It just doesn't work like it says it's supposed to, and that's one of the selling points of the unit, is that it does work as an iOS interface. It's supposed to be class compliant, which means you plug it in and the drivers are already there for Mac products, and it just works. It does not just work. I would love it if it did. That would be a nice thing, and hopefully that they actually can fix that on another firmware update somewhere down the line, or maybe they can figure out what's going on with my setup, but it just doesn't work for me. I don't know why I would have to turn off a setting to make it work anyway. If it's supposed to be class compliant, it should just work. That seems like it's, clearly the bugs have not been ironed out with this thing at all. Another issue that I have with this: you can't access your recordings anywhere on here. You can play back the last recording you made, and that's it. If you want to access any of your recordings, you have to use their software or take your SD card out of your unit and put it in your computer and transfer the files. They give you these scene buttons, which you can use to recall mixes, and that's all well and good, but there's only a couple inputs on this thing. It would be much more useful to me to get rid of these scene buttons and put a recording up and down where I could actually go back and look at some of the other recordings that I have on this thing. I don't want to have to always plug it into my computer or take the card out or whatever to listen to what I did with it. That's not very useful to me. I would prefer they got rid of these scene buttons and made some way to go back and look at some of your other recordings. And another one, since I'm going to try and keep it to just a couple of, gripes, but they're big enough to me that it seemed like it was worth making a video like this. The last one, and this is just my own preference, but boy, it would be nice. There's no way to use this thing as a multi-track. This unit would be perfect to me if I could use it as just a sketch pad of sorts, where I could use it as a multi-track, where I could plug my guitar and my voice in for the first 2 tracks, and then turn on the record for the other ones afterwards, and just add some other stuff into it and actually sketch out some demos with this thing. It's only a little bit bigger than your hand. It would be so useful if you could just take it around as a little sketchbook recorder. That would be the perfect use. You can do that on all the other Livetrak units. You can do that on the L12, the L20, everything else, but not on this one for some reason. There's just no way to access any of the other tracks or anything like that. If you remember before when I said I was recording with this unit, no matter what, when you hit record, you're recording every track. There's no way to just turn on a couple of them and then go back and, add more to it later or whatever. That would be really useful to me. It seems like Livetrak L6 is like the perfect unit for a second revision. But this is like, revision 4 or 5 of these Livetraks. Like, they should have got a lot of this stuff right out of the gate and figured out what people really wanted out of something like this. And, I think that those are way more useful things than these scene buttons and these sound pad triggers. I would so much rather have a little screen on this thing that would allow me to access other tracks and then, potentially use it as a multi-track unit. For me, for my own uses, that would be way more useful. And I think a lot of other people probably too. But let's hope that they iron out some of these issues, and who knows, maybe they'll make a Livetrak L6 version 2 that, fixes some of these problems that I have. But if you're just using it as something that you put in place, and every time you want to record every track, something like a DAW setup, it's totally fine in that circumstance. It'll work out fine. But if you try to do other things with this, I think you're going to be disappointed. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today. And especially this issue with the iOS. They have to fix that. That's, they use it as a selling point for it. And it's not delivering on something that it says it can do. So that's a big problem for me. Hopefully they fix it in another update. And I hope you enjoy this. I hope you found it informative. If you're somebody who's looking to buy one, maybe now you know some of the limitations of this thing. Again, I don't really like to be negative about any product, especially something I bought. I bought it because I thought it would be useful. I just find some of these issues to be annoying. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.